I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down. All around this empty town, we're searching for the lost and found. But you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air.
The eyes to the right, 286. The nose to the left, 344.
I'm lost for words. I am severely, I've got to be honest with you, I am fucking lost for words. If you don't know, that clip was Theresa May's third chance to try and get her shitty deal through, which was never going to go through at all. But let me try and explain to you how moronic the British Parliament is today, okay? They wanted to make things a bit more simpler for themselves. So they asked Theresa May to have indicative votes. And indicative votes were questions on a piece of paper. Literally, questions on a piece of paper. They said things like, revoke Article 50, people's vote, leaving on no deal, all those sort of things. And I think there was about, I'm guessing, around 8-10 votes on this piece of paper. And all they've got to do is put a little cross on there, give it back to the Speaker or the Speaker's lackey or whatever it is. And Parliament voted down every single fucking one.
I can now announce the result of today's recorded votes on motions relating to the United Kingdom's withdrawal from and future relationship with the European Union. In respect of Mr. Barron's motion B, brackets no deal, the ayes were 160, the noes were 400, so the noes have it. In respect of Mr. Nicholas Bowles' motion D, Common Market 2.0, the ayes were 188, the noes were 283, so the noes have it. In respect of George Eustace's motion H, EFTA and EEA, the ayes were 65, the noes were 377. So the noes have it. In respect of Mr. Kenneth Clarke's motion J, Customs Union, the ayes were 264, the noes were 272. So the noes have it. In respect of the Leader of the Opposition's motion K, Labour's alternative plan, the ayes were 237, the noes were 307, so the noes have it. In respect of Joanna Cherry's motion L, revocation to avoid no deal, the ayes were 184, the noes were 293, so the noes have it. In respect of Dame Margaret Beckett's motion M, confirmatory public vote, the ayes were 268, the noes were 295. So the noes have it. In respect of Mr. Marcus Fish's motion O, contingent preferential arrangements, the ayes were 139, the noes were 422, so the noes have it.
You see, Brexit is very simplistic when you really look at the facts. You see, there's always been Eurosceptics in Parliament ever since we joined the EU, not so much maybe the EEC, but ever since we joined the EU. And this scepticism was getting worse and worse and worse, especially in the Tory party. So David Cameron had to do something about it, and quite a few other MPs were involved in it as well. So they thought, well, we could get the public to literally shut these people up once and for all. Let's give it to the people, and let's persuade the people that, you know, we have to stay in the EU, otherwise, you know, Armageddon will happen. So they put out the referendum, and they put all the scaremongering out and all that sort of jazz. However, they didn't realise that people in Britain actually had a brain and actually could decide for themselves. And even though they were saying about, I don't know, what was it, 500,000, 800,000 jobs being lost, Armageddon, economic collapse, and all that sort of stuff, people still voted. 17.4 million people still voted to leave the EU. And they couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe their plan was kiboshed.
After that vote in Britain, and for so many around the world, a stunning result, deciding to leave the European Union, to go it alone. Wall Street here at home plummeting more than 600 points, and the faces in Britain, those who thought there was no way this could happen. Then another surprise, the Prime Minister of Britain announcing his resignation, walking back into 10 Downing Street, his arm around his wife.
It was screwed. If you was to look at the daytime TV straight after the referendum, it was funny.
I feel honoured to have served it, and I will do everything I can in future to help this great country succeed.
We've got our country back.
Good evening from a shell-shocked Westminster. David Cameron's premiership has ended after Remain lost the referendum he called to resolve his own party's civil war over Europe, which he himself said put at risk the national interest.
So then Parliament decided, right, what we need to do is start doing our job now, and we need to try and overturn it somehow. So they got their friends to try and take us to court.
I think at the end of the day, the days of victory are always great, but it's actually the days after the count, and it's now to the government to what they do. And I hope that the MPs will do their job and actually debate this in a sober, grown-up way, because leading up to the vote, we did not have sober, honest, rational debates. So it is now over to the politicians.
Thank you.
And then ever since then, they've tried to bring on a soft Brexit where we're still attached to them. So where it'd be so easy for us to go back inside the EU. Because if we was to leave on WTO, it's much harder for these dickheads, the 75% or 80% of MPs, to get us back inside the EU. Especially when the EU and the rest of the MPs, sorry, the rest of the world realise how Britain could be so successful without the catchment of the EU, the fucking little
17.4 million people, a clear majority, voted to leave. That is a mandate that we must respect and an instruction that we must deliver.
17.4 million people voted to leave the EU. The majority voted to leave the EU. That's all that matters. The fact that Theresa May couldn't get a decent deal from the EU does not matter. Myself, and I'm pretty sure a good majority of the 17.4 million weren't expected a deal or no deal. We were just expected to leave that fucking thing. That leaves single market, customs union, ECJ, our money, the whole fucking shebang. If the EU don't want to play ball and they want to be silly buggers, then fair enough, we will go on WTO. I'm happy with that, and many other millions of people out there are happy with those circumstances as well. Parliament need to learn, and they need to learn a lesson very, very quickly. The people will never forgive you. I promise you, will never forgive you for what you've done and what you're doing right now. What you can do right now, though, is save your jobs. Because come the next general election, people are not really going to start voting for parties. They're going to vote to make sure that you leave your post. So you're not one of the 650. You see, in Parliament today, the Remainer MPs are shouting and saying, how comes we have 3 votes on Theresa May's deal, but the people only had 1 vote on the EU referendum? Well, it was down to government to make sure they had the deal. It was nothing to do with the people. But our vote will come very, very shortly with the general election. And I'm looking forward to the majority of you people being kicked out. Because that's our second vote. And that's when we show you who the bosses really are. And we put Parliament back on the even keel to understand what you are, which are civil servants to us.